Hiya, Seven. Hope you're all keeping well. Thank you for your work on the Transfiguration, which you did for me last week. Remember, we said the Transfiguration was a change of appearance, which is what Jesus did on top of that hill. And it's not the easiest concept to understand, certainly for those that were with him. They were confused too. But we're now going to move on to a little bit later in Jesus' life, where he started to perform more and more miracles. And we're going to look at one called the Paralysed Man, which is in, of course, the New Testament. And it is in Mark chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. Now, in your book, there isn't actually the verse. We're talking, of course, this book. We're looking at page 32. But the actual story isn't there. Of course, sometimes it is. So what I've got is I'm going to read it to you. If you have a Bible at home, then great, you can look it up. Or if you've got an iPad, you can look it up on the internet. So it's Mark 2, and it's verses 1 to 12. So I'm going to read this to you now. Jesus forgives and heals a paralyzed man. A few days later, when Jesus again entered Capernaum, the people heard that he had come home. They gathered in such large numbers that there was no room left, not even outside the door, and he preached the word to them. Some men came, bringing to him a paralyzed man, carried by 4 of them. Since they could not get to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above Jesus by digging through it, and then lowered the mat the man was lying on. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Now some teachers of the law were sitting there thinking to themselves, "Why does this fellow talk like that? He's blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone?" Immediately Jesus knew in his spirit that this was what they were thinking in their hearts, and he said to them, "Why are you thinking these things? Which is easier, to say to this paralyzed man, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up, take your mat and walk'? But I want you to know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." So he said to the man, "I tell you, get up, take your mat and go home." He got up, took his mat, and walked out in full view of them all. This amazed everyone, and they praised God, saying, "We have never seen anything like this." So, a little bit like the previous story, and as we will see going forward, that the teachers of the law were really upset by Jesus and what he was saying and what he stood for. He questioned lots of things that had previously not been allowed to be questioned, and he brought a new freshness to the way people lived their lives, amongst many other things, of course. So that's the story. What I'd like you to do, please, is just to do a short, feel like frame by frame, just in point form, in your books, on the different stages of the story. So there will be, starting with the arrival of Jesus in the town, and so on, through to Jesus saying those words of "get up and walk." So, and then in your books, on, as I've said, page 32, it'll be worth you looking at page 33 as well. It talks through some of the points which are useful. And of course, this revolves around faith and believing in something that perhaps you haven't believed in before. And of course, they couldn't even see Jesus at the time, but they believed that he could save their friend. And then there's some questions down at the bottom. So see how you go with time. The point form of the stages of the story shouldn't take you very long to do. I'd suggest if you can listen to the story again, either me reading it or try and find it on the internet, or if you've got a Bible, and then read through the bits of information where it explains on page 33, and then if you could answer questions 1 to 5 on page 33 in your books, that would be great. Thanks everyone. Keep well.